everyone, this is Buddy for Somebody's Voice, and good day to everyone. Today's an exciting episode because I'll be interviewing a friend whom I met during my Training the Trainer certification. And I was really amazed with her story, with her style, and you will get to meet her. Let's watch this. Hello again, everyone, and this is Buddy for Somebody's Voice. And I hope that all of you are doing great. And today is an exciting day for all of us. I wish I can maintain this accent because I'll be introducing to you somebody who's based in Australia. And I love her accent, actually. I tease her about it, but she doesn't mind me. So, okay, so I met her during my Training the Trainer certification. And she's based in Australia, and we have two things in common. One is that both of us are part of the Jack Canfield Trainer community. And second one is that we both work in a bank. Woohoo! Isn't that great? And I always believe that everything happens for a reason. And there is a reason why we met in the breakout room when we were having our session. And the minute she started talking, I was really amazed, and I was really interested, and I really want to get to know her. And just so happened that I guess she's more friendlier. She's friendlier than me because she texted me, right? And I texted her back. And maybe that is God pushing her, come on, text this person because she's a fan of yours. All right, so she is basically a coach and a counselor with 10 years of experience. Wow, right? And she has been coaching both in corporate and private setting. So without much further ado, I want you to meet my friend, Tamara Stanley.
Yay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Buddy.
Woohoo! And it is true, right, Tamara? When you texted me, I said, oh my God, she is so nice. But then I kept on. I was the one who kept on texting you after that text.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right, now, how are you? How are you today?
Very good indeed. Happy to be here, and thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here with you.
No, Tamara, I would like to say thank you. All right, because of you saying yes, a lot of people will be inspired here in the Philippines. You're based in Australia, right?
Yeah, so Sydney, Australia. I am in the western suburbs, but still near the city, actually heading into Sydney, the city tomorrow. So very excited. And yeah, such a beautiful place to live.
It's 3:48 p.m. here in Manila. What time is it there?
It is 5:48 p.m. So we're just 2 hours ahead. So very close in time zones compared to some of the other people on our training.
I remember I was so proud. Hey, it's 11:30 p.m. here in Manila. And then she started saying that, oh, well, I started joining this training at 1:30 a.m. I said, oh, you're more commitment than I am. Anyways, Tamara, I want to know more of you. So what is it that you do?
Yeah, so I have worked in banking and finance for the last 20 years. In banking itself for about 15, 16 years. So, and a lot of those roles have really been around the customer. At the moment, I'm doing a business banking role where I work with small to medium-sized businesses and help them with all their lending needs. So that's really fun, and I really love connecting with all the business customers and really helping them grow in their business. It's always so energetic to see all these passionate people that are so inventive with what they do in their businesses. And then I have done a lot of coaching. So as you mentioned, I've done coaching in the corporate. So a lot of it is in banking, where when I've been leading teams, I've coached a lot of my team in their careers to help them move on and get better jobs. I've coached that externally, both in careers and in life coaching. And I find it so rewarding to watch people grow and develop and really find themselves through it. And I think that's the most rewarding part of coaching. That's why I keep on doing it forever.
But then, how come we met in Jack Canfield's training community?
Okay. Yeah. So when I actually started my coaching course, so I did a coaching course here in Australia. And when I started, there was one of the people at the college, I was talking to them and they said, have you heard about Jack Canfield? And I said, no, I have not. And they're like, it's a quieter version of Tony Robbins. And I went, okay. So I actually had a look in and I read up about Jack Canfield. I bought his book. I read his book. It took me a little bit. It's actually quite thick, but something like, was it 67 success principles in there? But it was well worth it because I bought the book within a week of hearing about him. Because I think, when you find an idea, you've got to grab hold of it and take action straight away. And I had put it down on my bucket list because you just Google them and you check out their website, and I saw he had the Train the Trainer program. And so I put that down on my bucket list to do it. And so as soon as I could do it, and because at the time it was all live. And getting to America from here with young kids was just not overly realistic at the time. So I had it there until the COVID pandemic started, and he offered his Train the Trainer online. And I was like, yes, that was the sign. And I jumped on board and did it.
Right. I guess that is like one of the things that, like blessings in pandemic, right? We get to attend an international training without like leaving our country, and we get to meet a lot of people. You know what, viewers, if you have the chance, if you have the time, if you have the budget, and you find like training, like being an inspiration, an influencer to a lot of people, if that is like something that you're passionate about, if that's like part of your life purpose, why don't you try being part of Jack Canfield's training community? I'll try to put that in the link below so that you get to be part of the things that we do, and you will really be amazed with all of the learnings of Jack Canfield. Yeah. And speaking of Jack Canfield, Tamara, you said that we all know this. We have 6 to 7 success principles, right? Which among the principles will resonate with you the most?
Yeah. And when you ask me that, it's really hard just to pick one, like almost impossible. Because when you think about it, these principles are the basis of success in life. And when we talk about success, it's not necessarily monetary gain. It's everything that we want. Happiness is the core thing that we're all searching for. And so picking one was really hard, but and I think it depends on where you are and what's happening in your life to what one resonates with you the most. The one that's resonating with me the most right now is use feedback to your advantage. And so I really like that one. And just to give you a bit of a reason why is that when you talk to people about what feedback is, a lot of people, and I was one of them, definitely, that feedback is something someone else tells you. And so when we ask, do you get feedback? Because we all know feedback is really important to get so we can improve. And a lot of people will say, no, I don't give feedback. People don't give me feedback. My boss doesn't give me feedback. But in reality, we're getting feedback all the time. And so it's actually acknowledging what feedback is. And it doesn't have to be explicit feedback. And so when we really understand what feedback is, how it comes into our lives, and then we can use it, it actually helps us get improvement every single day, take action every single day. And for me, who was, or now is, I should say, a recovering perfectionist, it is this principle that helps me get unstuck and move forward. So as a perfectionist, you spend your time planning, making sure everything's perfect, and you don't take any action. But really, when you don't take action, you can't get any feedback. And when we embrace this principle, we can go, I can do small actions, get feedback, and move forward and improve and get to a point where we can be happy with what we're doing. Because as perfectionists, we want to be perfect at everything we do. And that's just not possible.
I know, I know. Because well, you work in a bank, I work in a bank, and when we hear feedback from the customers, sometimes we find it like that's a complaint. I don't know
Yeah.
what to do with you, right? In the Philippines, we say that complaint or feedback is a gift from the customer. Do you have that saying also?
I don't think we do. But
Oh,
I think any feedback, like we ask the question, if you prefer positive feedback or negative feedback, but most people are going to say, I like positive feedback. I want to hear that I've done well. I want to hear that what I've done is enough, right? And because when we're seeking external feedback constantly, we needed to validate who we are and what we've done. And this is like in our nature, because in doing that and getting validation, we're getting acceptance, we're getting approval that what we've done is enough. And that validates that we are enough. But we have to separate the two and think about feedback differently. So feedback can be a gift. So it doesn't matter if we've done something wrong. If we don't know, we're going to keep doing the wrong thing.
Yep.
And so we need to hear that. And if a customer tells us they're not happy,
yep.
if we can sit there in that space and disconnect ourselves from that moment and just listen and be present with them, we can really hear them and hear what needs to be done.
And not be defensive, right? Not be defensive.
Not
Hey,
be
that's
defensive.
not our fault, right? Yeah.
Correct. Because as soon as you're defensive, you stop listening and you can't help. But with a customer, they just want to know that they're being heard. And you would know in a bank, you can't always do what the customer wants. It's just not possible sometimes. Sometimes they want more than what we can give, but sometimes we can give them exactly what they want. But when we hear and we can understand where the place they're coming from, even if we can't give them what they're asking for, we can give them enough to help them through that process and really work them through from where they are to where we need them to be, to really understand how we can help in that situation. And it's the same when we get feedback. If we, when it hits us and we want to be defensive, we've got to look inside ourselves and go, what part of us believes some of that is true? And we want to reject it because we don't want to acknowledge that in ourselves. And so when we can see that and go, all right, let's look at that. Is it true in this moment? Is it really true? Do I need to do something with it? Or is it something that I even maybe if it's true, but I don't want to change? We can say, we can review the feedback and say, I don't want to take that feedback, or I will take it on and I'll do something. And that's your choice, right? Yep. Feedback is only feedback. It's only a measurement of someone else's opinion on something if it's external. And you have a choice on, once you review that feedback, on how you take that on and what you do. And that's really where the power comes in, is your reaction to that feedback, not the feedback itself.
Yeah. I don't know with you, Tamara, but me, when I do my training, when I ask for feedback, meaning to say I am ready to take whether it's good or bad. I am mature enough, all right, to receive feedback. But if I am not ready, I will not even ask you. All right, so it takes a lot of maturity, right? But then again, I remember if I don't ask for feedback, that means I am not ready to improve myself. I am not ready to move to the next level, because like what you said, if they care about you, the reason why they're giving this feedback, whether you're ready or not, is because they care. They want something. All right. So yeah, for me, it's about like really how I react, which is like when you react to feedback, do you have a story to tell? Like, how did you take it? What did you do when you were receiving feedback? Was it a good story?
Yes. Well, I mean, there's plenty of times where I've had feedback. I was one that I like to seek a bit of feedback, but very early on when I would seek feedback, because I wanted, as a perfectionist, I wanted to hear good things, but deep inside, I didn't believe I deserved the good feedback. So a lot of the time I would seek feedback almost to get confirmation that what I've done isn't good enough. So I was looking for feedback on, I'd always ask, what have I done wrong? What do I need to improve? Not necessarily looking for positive feedback. I always wanted the negative feedback, which is quite the opposite of what a lot of people want. But that would validate how I felt about myself. And I would continue to work on it, like I would improve it, and it did help me. But when I got good feedback, and this can happen too, I almost talked myself out of accepting it. So I would hear, they go, oh, you did this well, you did that. And you're like, oh, but you know, inside I was shaking, or like if I was giving a talk and they go, oh, you did really well. And I'll be like, oh, but I didn't prepare and I missed this and I missed that. And I mucked up that point. And I dismissed a lot of that good feedback, because whatever the feedback is, you need to be open to whatever it is, and you need to accept it wholeheartedly, and really embrace what someone's taken the time to give you. But on the other side of that, you need to look inside yourself for your own feedback, because taking external feedback only will give you one person's point of view, maybe two people's point of view. But when you marry that up with your internal feedback, and your internal feedback a lot of the time is how you feel about it, the emotions it brings up, what you're thinking at the time. When you marry that and you can weigh up the two, you can come to a balanced view of what's actually happened. And that's the key when you really want to implement feedback, is coming up with a balanced feedback. Because, everyone looks at something very differently. We all have different views on the world. We've all had different experiences, and we all look for different things in something. And so creating, when you pull data to actually analyze data, the more points of data you have, the more accurate your data reading is. So with feedback, the more bits of feedback you can get from yourself, from other people, from, suggestions, advice. I even like to think, when you're talking to someone, watch their body language, their facial expressions, what they do, how they turn. Do they turn away from you? Do they look at you? Are they engaged? Do they ask you questions? That tells you a lot about how you're connecting with someone. And so there's all these data points that aren't just someone's opinion and aren't just yours, but when we add their opinion, what we're feeling, and the other points of data together, we can get a really balanced approach of the feedback. And that helps us make very informed decisions about the actions we're taking, and is it helping us to get to where we want to, or is it taking us further away? Because every action we do is either taking us to where we want to go or taking us further away. There's nothing in between.
Tamara, I learned something new from you, because we always hear, like working in a bank, right? Or as a trainer, we always ask for feedback, external feedback. But what I'm hearing from you is that it needs to be balanced. You also need to give feedback to yourself, how you assess yourself. Mm-hmm. So I love it. It is not just listening to other people, but you have your own criteria. You know when you're good at, that if you really gave your best in one performance, right? So it's balances it. I love it. Love it, because a lot of people, they always base their performance or the view of other people rather than listening to themselves, right? Or sometimes they listen to themselves more rather than to other people.
Yes. And either way is very dangerous. If we're always external and seeking that, or always internal and just listening to ourselves, either extreme is always bad. In everything in life, extremes don't necessarily work, but when we're balanced and in the middle, if you take your complaint and a customer complains, and we think, well, if a customer complains, I've done a bad job, we miss the opportunity to actually assess what we've done. So a customer complains, if you've actually handled the complaint really well, like you've sat, you've listened, you've explained, you've taken the customer through, and you've come to a resolution of some sort, you could look at that and go, I actually handled that really well. And the customer, they gave me their feedback, and I can implement and do something else to maybe stop this happening again. But what happened in that moment, I did well. And then that's a win.
Yeah. Do you do this like what I mentioned a while ago, that if I'm not ready to accept feedback, if I'm not ready to hear how I did during my performance, I never ask. Do you do that?
I think so, but I think that, there are times where you won't ask because you don't want to hear.
Yes.
There are times where people ask and they still don't want to hear. So, when you go, oh, let me know how that went. But if you don't take it on, like if you don't even hear what's being said, or you're dismissing it like I was when I was hearing good feedback and I would just dismiss it, you're not open to receiving it. So even when you ask for it, you have to be open to it. Like you just have to be ready, warts and all, hear it as it is, and then make your assessment on what it is and go, all right, based on where I am, is what I'm doing now getting me closer to where I want to go or taking me further away? And if I take on that feedback, does that help me get closer to my goal or take me further away? And when we look at it from that view, there's no right, there's no wrong. We're either moving towards what we want or we're moving away. And that helps to take out the good and bad, because I find when we're good and bad or right and wrong, we're very much in the space of, are we enough or are we not enough? And we're always enough. So we've got to just go, am I helping myself or am I not helping myself?
Wow. I love it. And Tamara, during our training the trainers, like, I don't know with you, but I was like really open during that time. I really want to hear really good feedback, bad feedback, good feedback, bad about my performance. I am okay, right? I wish we can be like that in our everyday life.
But we can.
I know.
You just got to be ready. One thing that they did do very well when we looked at the feedback is that they made the comment up front very early that we're only, especially for those first 3 days, we're only going to give you good feedback because you'll give yourself enough critical feedback that we don't need to do that. And what I think that did is it created a space that allowed growth and learning. Because a lot of the time we think we have to give everyone the blunt bad news. I have to be honest. I have to be truthful. And that can sometimes break trust, break rapport, break relationships. When sometimes we already know what we've done wrong. We already know where we can improve, but we don't know what we're actually doing well because we blind ourselves to that a lot of the time. And when we hear it from someone else and we really accept it and take it on, and like you, what I found was hearing the good, repeatedly hearing the good and, checking that with myself and going, okay, and then watching other people, I found I got a lot of growth from that. I got more growth in that than I did hearing all the negative feedback I'd held for many other years. And I got that in a very condensed period of time. So when people are asking for feedback, we don't, because this is one reason people don't like giving feedback, is they think, oh, how will they take it? How will they react? And we talk about the feedback sandwich, good, bad, or something to work on, good. If you just stop and go, if there's nothing absolutely horrible, then, and there's nothing that's, going to destroy their career or their life or anything, pick 3 things they did really well and let them focus on that. If they keep working on those 3 things, they're going to get better anyway. And they're going to enjoy it and embrace it a lot more. And then when they're ready, because if you don't think they're ready for constructive feedback, when they are ready, drop a little thing in and go, but if you work on this as well, what you'll see is this will improve even more. And if you tie that back into something they're doing well, then they'll go, oh, I can see that. But if it's just standalone, you need to work on this. This is not good, but you don't give them any sight as to what it will look like when it's better. It's hard to actually bring in and really work on that.
Agree. I totally agree. And yeah, I love what you said about like having a safe environment. I wish that can happen in our everyday lives as well, right? A safe environment that you can be vulnerable, that you can make mistakes, and yet you will still focus on the good thing. And I don't know whether you met Natasha, like during the breakout sessions. Like, I really love her. Like, she will always say that, how will you rate your performance? And I sort of like gave myself an 8. And you know what you said? Well, you can give yourself an 8, but then you can give yourself a 10 tomorrow. So it's all about like being better the following day, right? So don't be too hard on yourself. Oh, Tamara, I love it. It's like really something that that is meant to happen, that you will talk about feedback.
Yeah, it's always good.
I so love it. We will have a part 2, right?
Yes, we can do a part 2.
Yes.
On a different principle.
Yes, and a different principle. So, Tamara, any last few words to our viewers with regard to, feedback?
The one thing I took away, especially when I was doing the training around use feedback to your advantage, is that to get feedback, you need to take action. So if you're not taking action in the world, like if you're stuck in planning stage, you need to do something. And I like that if you just break it down. So just say you've got a big goal. If you break it down to a small single task that you know you can do, you'll get feedback once you've completed that. So doing a small task every day will help you along the way get feedback, and during that time you'll actually know whether you're on the right track or whether you're off track, right? And so sometimes when we have a big goal, we pluck these big goals out of thin air sometimes, and we don't actually know if it's really for us. So if we're trying to do big things and make a big plan, we get stuck because we don't know what the step is, what to do. Sometimes it might not even be right for us. But if we pick those small steps, then we actually get the feedback, we get started, we're not stuck anymore, and we can move forward. And whether we end up there or somewhere else, we've actually got closer to where we need to be because we've taken action and we're using feedback. And that was the biggest thing I took out. And it's helped me every day to not just sit and wonder and plan, but to do something.
Oh, and that is putting into action whatever it is that you heard, right? The feedback that you get. And that is good. Yeah, you can always like listen the whole day, listen the whole time. What about your performance, about the feedback? But then if you're not going to take action, if you're not going to do anything about it, then it will just like be something that, you just talked about. It's just like a conversation.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it. We will have a part 2.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Oh, thank you again, Tamara. I learned a lot from you, and I hope our participants, our viewers will also, like, you learned a lot. And let's work on feedback, whether you're ready or not. But it will be better if you're ready, though, to accept feedback. But then, like what Tamara said, after you hear the feedback, do something about it. Take action. All right. Yay! Tamara, if we will get in touch with you, if you want to hear more of you, where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook. I have my page for my business. So if you go to facebook.com/mypathforward1, you can find me there, and I'm posting daily, getting on some lives every now and then as well. So some inspiration to help you take the next step in your life. Make sure that you're on track and bringing more happiness into your life.
Oh, it's like really moving forward. It's not like getting stuck with the feedback. It's moving forward. Oh, I
Moving
love
forward.
it.
Yeah, so
Fast forward.
my name for my business came from making sure you're moving forward. Everyone's got a path in their life, and your path is not the same as anyone else's. You got to find your path and move forward on it. And that's how we get forward in our life. And that's where we create success, right? Success is living our own life.
I love it. Your path, your action, your feedback. Oh, take it. Take that feedback to your advantage. I love it. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. And that's it. We learned a lot. I learned a lot from Tamara. It's like really having feedback, like using feedback to your advantage. And then whether good or bad, let's focus on your strength. Let's focus on like what you can do better. And then whether you're ready or not, just like what you're saying, we have internal and external feedback. And what I like most about what you said is that, hey, you receive that feedback and then what they're going to do about it. Take action, right? Work on it, right? And that is something that I learned from her. All right. So if you like this video, if you like this episode, I hope that you will like and subscribe and share this YouTube channel, Somebody's Voice, and we're also where you can also hear us in podcast. And again, thank you for watching, and don't forget, you can be somebody.